Yes, yes, yes. Let those notifications go out. All right, and yeah, we're trying out new things for our style. Yeah, we're trying new things. The Lord's like, yeah, just switch it up a little bit. And so, yeah, I'm noticing it. Yeah, um, and a lot of people are being distracted by the solar eclipse. Hmm. Makes me wonder what the narcissists are really up to besides radio frequency poisoning. Right, let those notifications go out. Let me go ahead and do what we normally do our sound check here as we gear up for this message because it's very important. All part of getting that vigilance and awareness that God needs us to have because this actually happened while I was preparing one of my neutral superfoods. I was cutting up the vegetables and I was like, okay, but upon further inspection, see, the enemy would want to try and trick us into thinking more highly of ourselves than we ought to, right? Okay, so this is just one of many ways that he could do that. Okay, there we go. There we go, there we go. All right, now, with that being taken care of, I am Michelle Dickey, your host for CHA Let's Just Chat Show, streaming on the YouTube channel Narcissism and Cognitive Dissonance, where trauma healing and spiritual growth are front and center while combating radio frequency for healthier living. That's right. Trauma healing and spiritual growth occur with God with the basic scientific facts, tried and true techniques, and more. Here and at CHAAcademyBTBW.com. The link to the Academy is listed below for quicker access. Some of you may need to copy and paste that link to view what CHAAcademyBTBW.com offers to help you level up your trauma healing and spiritual growth in our growing community of spiritual warriors for Christ. Welcome. And I want to go ahead and dive right into it because while everybody else is distracted by the solar eclipse, because you know how they always pass the narrative around as, you better catch this solar eclipse. There's not ever going to be another one. Or there won't be another one in X amount of years. Like another outrageous number of years, 40, 50, 60 years. When the truth is, when the truth is, there was one not that long ago. Okay? It's all part of the dog and pony show on the world stage. Okay, you also don't let that distract you. Okay, this whole solar eclipse thing, it's all part of the show. Yeah, it's all part of the show. And yeah, happy Friday to y'all too. Because inside that matrix, the game of narcissism continues with all that traumatization. You know, God does mention the abuse in the Bible. I'm gonna find it while we are. Yeah, I'm gonna find it real quick because it's in there. And he tells us all about that. And so let's go see. But y'all gotta be careful. Here's the thing we learn in God's reality, right? Lessons that we learn. And so now I know that when it comes time to buy, let's say, a knife set, I'm going to do some inspection. Because, I've got plenty of those, if you will, for cooking and eating and stuff. But there was a set that I bought when I first landed here in this city. Because I had to get a small cutting board and I needed a small knife. Well, I got the set, but I needed something to cut my cheese that I was getting to cut some other foods while I was bouncing back and forth between hotels. So, and since then, right, since moving in, God has had us acquire a couple more sets. So we're good. And yeah. Okay, there it is. 1 Corinthians 6, verse 9. There's 5 mentioned, but the most relevant to our times, if you will. 1 Corinthians 6, verse 9. Know ye not that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of God? Be not deceived. Neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor effeminate, nor abusers of themselves with mankind. Think about that. Those that are dishing out all of this abuse to keep people traumatized, they're not going to inherit the kingdom of God. Chosen one. Because we're not dishing that out, and we start repenting from all of that. Okay? And we do all that we can to keep standing upright, to do good, overcome evil with good. All right, so back to the faulty items inside the matrix. Okay? As I was preparing, cutting up the vegetable to prepare for my usual superfood, I got to the acorn squash, and right as I was finishing up, and I took the knife, the larger one, and I went to cut another piece into 2 halves. That sucker, it broke, and it came. And when it broke, the metal, not the sharp side, the back side of the knife, just basically hit my little finger right there, and it started throbbing some. So I put some ice on it, and we're good. And I was like, that was weird. Because the first thought that came to my mind was, wow, that takes some serious strength to break a knife like that. Well, see, that would be thinking more highly of ourselves than we ought to. It's like, I know that all the weight training that I've been doing, all of that is there. I know it's there. It's just God has us back to basics for some things because of the season of suddenly that are happening. And I mean happening healing-wise. So, that being said, I said, hold up a second. I am not strong enough to break it was a thick steel knife. Okay, y'all? We're talking thick. Solid. So he had me take a look at the little one. And he said, I want you to take note of the silver running all the way around that handle. It's solid, right? Okay, metal. Go figure. All right, but the larger one, he said, okay, I want you to take a look at the underside. Okay. There was a little missing link on the bottom. It wasn't solid. Had a little, And when he had me put the blade back where it would be straight, there was another missing link. Very, very small. But I would not think to look at that. So that's a tip for you all. If you are shopping for silverware and things like that, because I would tell y'all, if that had happened to a narcissist who's living in fear, and let's say there's other people in the room, right? Yeah, think about that. That would have scared them, and who knows where that sucker would have went. Because these toddlers in adult bodies are very accident prone, which is why they make faulty items. Okay? This is part of our awareness. Okay, y'all? Because I was just like, I went, oh, wow. Not living in fear or anything, but I put that thing down and I was like, okay. But I had to change that thinking real quick. Because I was like, nah, I know that I'm strong enough to carry X amount of pounds. But that, to break a knife like that, no way. And I was like, okay, because that, yeah. And so that's why God showed me. So if you have, well, let me get it, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. That way, y'all have the visual, because we don't want y'all to yeah, because it's what God showed me. So now I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Okay. While handling it safely, obviously. Okay. You see, this is the small one that I got, okay? And the larger one that was like this is what broke. Because it had a missing link under here, and I had a missing link like right in here. You see these dots, right? Okay. Well, God said, I want you to look. Okay. You see how that's all solid, right? See how that's all solid? Okay. And you're about to see that it's solid all the way around. That's what you want to see. If you are on the prowl for buying things or anything really used for cutting or what have you, or cooking in general, and it's got a sharpness to it, look at the handle, okay? If you can. I know not all of them are like that, but if you do, go for that type of knife, okay? And then also, you'll figure some other stuff out. He had me inspect some of the other bigger ones I have in my knife caddy set, and those are made differently. So it's going to depend on the knife, but I just wanted to give y'all that. Part of our vigilance and awareness, because that large one that broke, right, and it came back to whack, if I were living in fear, like I said earlier, if that had happened to a narcissist, it would have scared them, and who knows where that would have gone, or who it might have hit. You know what I'm saying? And that's all deliberate. If you think that they did not make that faulty on purpose, come on now. Because, right, now not everything can be made faulty like that, because, right, lawsuits and all that stuff, they want to refrain from that. However, well, because nobody got hurt. No, I mean, it just nicked my finger a little bit, not the sharp one, but the backside, just because it broke. And so it just bing, and all I did was put a little ice on it and we're good. Okay? It was just like, wow. But I did. My first thought was, it takes a lot of strength to break a knife like that. But that's high-mindedness. So God stepped in and said, because the reality is, I might hold up a second. Yeah, because I was like, I know myself, and I know my physical strength. Well, not always when I car door. That's funny. But anyway, so that's why he had me take a look at the smaller version of it, and he said, look at that handle, and then take a look at the larger one. There was 2 missing links in that large one. So yeah, it's in the dumpster. We're not playing. But I wanted to get on here and give y'all that information about faulty items that are made in the Matrix, because that's deliberate. Remember, what is the enemy all about? Exactly, keeping people living in fear. Keep them living in fear so that when they come across, let's say they do come across a faulty item and it does that, it will scare them and an accident will happen. That's what the Matrix wants. Accidents to happen. Think about it. They're always preparing for something like that, right? They're always preparing for doomsday, when God clearly tells us that when we hear of wars and commotion, to be not terrified, for the end is not by and by. So please, y'all, do not keep falling for the false fear-mongering message about an apocalypse. Please don't, okay? Don't. God is clear about that. Don't believe what... that's also another distraction. But you want to inspect. That's the lesson with this today that God revealed, is that when we go out there and make purchases of things that we know we're going to use on a pretty regular basis, we want to do our own inspection of the item. And if we catch any faultiness, right, we need to take that to whatever customer service area, whatever store we're getting it from. Go to the customer service area and let them know. Okay? Let them know so they can, right, make note of it, get their money back, whatever is it they need to do with it. Because, listen, with them out there, oh my gosh, there are so many distractions out there in the matrix. And so it comes as no surprise that they will make faulty items that appear every now and again. And again, because they want to also avoid being sued and things like that, they can't do it all the time, but just every once in a while. So we as chosen one, as part of our vigilance and awareness, we need to make sure that we inspect the stuff that we are buying for. Yeah, seriously. We want to make sure we inspect things like that, especially knives, and if we can, okay? Even if it's after we get it home, because it's in a box or whatever, save the receipt, okay? Save that receipt. And if you catch a handle on a knife like that that's got missing links, yes, right back to the store, swap it out. If you want to do that, swap it out for another one. Save that receipt. Because 9 times out of 10, when you go swap that out, the one you swap it out for is not going to be faulty. Or it shouldn't be. Because like I said, they're just going to throw a faulty item in every now and again. Because they know that if a narcissist, a toddler in an adult body, if they get a hold of it, at some point it breaks. Don't know when, but at some point it's going to give way after using it frequently. And that knife, the larger one, it got used the most frequent for cooking. So it was just a matter of time before that thing was going to split because of the missing link. The metal wasn't all the way through. So we want to be mindful of that and not think that we're stronger than we really are because we broke it. No, we didn't break it. It was already faulty. Okay. So, watch out for that inside the matrix. Yeah, I had not noticed that before. I was like, oh, okay. That's a good topic to discuss today because it's important for, there's safety in the Lord. And that's an example of it right there. There's safety in the Lord because we're not living in fear. No, chosen one. We realize we don't need to do that. God even tells us, be not afraid. 365 times in the Bible. Because the end is not by and by. Think about the world stage, right? Think about how it's the same stuff. And I do believe it was Shakespeare who said all the world is a stage. But see, those who are perfectly programmed, they don't realize that the matrix that they're trauma bonded to keeps telling them that the world is a stage, but they ain't hearing it. Going right over their head. And yes, I know, chosen ones, it takes a while for us to let that sink in, but the world really is a stage. We learned that. Because, Project Bluebeam all around us. And see, here's the other thing we got to purge from our subconscious mind. Okay, everybody, is the, a lot of things growing up that we were told was real, we now are learning is actually fake. And we also are learning that all that excessive salt that gets on the inside of our body causes us to, that's right, not only emit radio frequency that we've been poisoned with, but we emit it out. And as we approach, let's just say the pile of salt that's on the surface that has magnetized, waiting for activation. So here we come along and we activate it, and the ANS, the autonomic nervous system, going to perceive, yeah, we're going to hallucinate based on what the ANS last perceived as a threat. And so that's what it's going to look like because we activated it. I share more about that on Patreon, and I am going to get to you, Chris. Don't worry. Yeah, I know that it is. You didn't know that? Okay, yeah, there's on April 8th, 2024, it's supposed to be some solar eclipse. I care nothing about it. So, yeah, I know. Yeah, we call them sheeple. That's right. We call them the sheeple inside that matrix. That's right. He was a wise dude. Okay, well, now you know. It's all over TikTok. That's why God had me sit down and say, I need you to check on TikTok real quick. I was like, okay. Because I was wondering where all this, because I'm sensing it in the spiritual. And I'm like, okay, what is going on? Because the Earth Glow Rumble has been pretty loud the last couple of days. Oh, now I know why. Because, yeah, all the sheeple are being distracted by part of the show for the Matrix to keep the toddler in adult bodies entertained. How the Matrix makes things appear bigger than they really are to get them all riled up, all excited. Because, yeah, I had to go on Amazon because I need to order a couple of beneficial oils for the blood type diet. And so as I'm searching, I'm seeing it, what people are searching for the most on Amazon. And it's solar eclipse glasses. And I'm like, oh, see, I can't say anything though, because the last one that was just, it was not even 10 years ago. It was less than that, because I remember getting a pair myself when the ex-psycho roommate was a case, before the ex-psycho roommate became a case study. And I remember it was short. Okay, hold up. I can tell you exactly when it was. I mean, not exactly, but I can tell you the year. My first, it was within the first year of being at that house, and that would be 2000. It was 2017 or 16. It was either 2016 or 2017. Because, it could have been 2015. I might have been on vacation from undergrad. But still, again, that gives you an idea that the last solar eclipse was not 40 years ago. Okay? Yeah, see, the enemy relies on short-term memory, right? The enemy doesn't want people remembering that stuff. Because that way he could try to pass off this new narrative about the solar eclipse, and then you better catch it because there won't be another one for 40 years. I'm like, liar. Because, yeah, we're in 2024, right? So the last one I know was at least within the last 9 years. At least. So that's not 40 years. But see, sleepers, the sheeple, they're going to believe that. And so we did once too, but we know better now. Because we're chosen ones, we're not in the matrix anymore. I mean, physically, yes, but we walked away from it spiritually as we're supposed to. See, that's what God's talking about. When he said we're not, right, it's like, we don't go seek counsel from the ungodly. No. But when we walk away, it's in spirit as we're supposed to do. That's how we walk away. Exactly. And so it's all part of the distraction. So I question, okay, so they're distracting everybody with that narrative again. What else is really going on? That's what goes through my mind. Because whenever they're trying to distract and entertain, I'm like, what's underneath the surface? Besides radio frequency poisoning, what's underneath the surface? What else are they up to? I mean, we know that the narcissists are always up to no good, but what else is there? I mean, good grief. When you open up a browser, right? How many distractions are on that page? I was scrolling down. I was like, how many different stories are, man, oh man, oh man. Remember what God said. That's right, Ephesians chapter 5. No, chapter 4, excuse me. Yeah, Ephesians chapter 4. All right, I'm going to read it to y'all because this is why God tells us that he's not the author of confusion. Because when you pull that up, all that stuff going on the world stage, right? Making news headlines and stuff like that, right? I mean, people are going to believe what they want to believe. But it's Ephesians 4, verse 14, right? See, God gets us out of that matrix. He said, that we henceforth be no more children, tossed to and fro, and carried about with every wind of doctrine, by the sleight of men and cunning craftiness, whereby they lie in wait to deceive. That sums it up right there. What's going on inside that matrix? That's why God gets us out of that. He's like, yeah, we're no longer being tossed to and fro, because I remember yeah, because that's why I said this going back and forth between hotels. I said, this got to stop. I said, this can't go on, because we're no longer being tossed to and fro, because that's what it felt like. And I said, nah. I said, I need my own place. And so glory be to God, made it happen, because we had, oh my goodness. Yeah, it's not just physical healing now. It's all about staying busy. Get more of God's vision. So we start seeing more of the abundance that Jesus said he came, so that we can live more abundantly and no longer be tossed to and fro by all of those different doctrines on the world stage, all the lies. Yeah, whereby they lie in wait to deceive the narcissist, evildoers. So we're like, okay. So for us, chosen one, we don't allow ourselves to get all caught up in that stuff anymore. Because we can see it for what it is. And we know that the sheeple, all right, they don't, no. It takes a while to process, I know. But those of us that have gone down the rabbit hole, we know that thing goes deep. And there's many matrices inside that as well. Mindfulness. So it was shortly after God got me out of the rabbit hole, he perked my spiritual ears up with that game of narcissism that they're playing on the world stage. Y'all know what I'm talking about. We walked away from that matrix spiritually, and then also we stopped playing the game. We unregistered. We're done, because we know that's the only way the enemy can tell who's still playing the game. Because we now know that whenever one of them talking heads gets up there, starts delivering a speech for the country, which actor is wearing that silicone mask today? Who knows, right? Oh, come on, y'all. And then whenever one of their so-called partners, if you will, gets up to deliver a message, or the secretary gets up to deliver a message, I wonder, which actress is that today wearing a silicone mask? Yeah. We start questioning everything in God's reality. We become Enoch Jr. That's right. So yeah, thank you for posting that in the chat, Chris. Ephesians 4, verse 14. That's right. We're no longer being tossed to and fro because we're not allowing ourselves to be. See, that's the power and authority from the Godhead on the inside. Is that we don't allow them to do that to us anymore. Right? We come together and iron sharpens iron. And that's what's going on at CHA Academy, y'all. Is that we are growing because we're supposed to. Remember when God says, a little one shall, right, a strong nation? That's what's happening here. So I'm going to pull that up. I mean, right, the first shall be last, and the last shall be first, right? There you go. Isaiah 60:22, right there. A little one shall become 1,000, and a small one a strong nation. I, the Lord, will hasten it in his time. So that's why he put it on my spirit not too long ago. He said, let him know this is suddenly season. And it sure has been, and it continues to be, suddenly season. Where God is taking care of things suddenly. But not like lickety split, okay? It can be the suddenly for God may be 24 to 48 hours. Okay? So never forget that. And also, for those of you who are on the detox journey with us, God needs me to remind you all that remember, you wake up, you're doing the daily self-check-in, so you know where you're at physically, right? And so you also will discover maybe another area that needs a little extra self-care, okay? All right, so now you know where you're at. And so let's say you go for your walk and you come back and you're doing, right, being vigilant and aware about how you move. Remember, in God's reality, we don't have to move as fast as we once thought we did. We have to learn to slow down a little bit, okay? Because especially during the detoxing, you want to be mindful because you are detoxing from salts, excess salt, and salt is a stiffener when in excess like that. So, yeah, you want to take it easy. And then, again, for those who need it, ice pack. That's right, and ice cold water. That's right, ice cold water. So remember, I added the song by Vanilla Ice Baby to take a listen to that, y'all. He's telling us about the radio frequency poisoning. Just pay attention to the lyrics. It's pretty cool. So I was like, So, right, and we learned that they've been telling us a lot of this stuff our whole lives, too. And let's not forget subliminal messaging. Watch out for that. Don't allow it to get in your subconscious, okay? Remember, that's how the enemy does these things. Okay? That is how he does these. It in the subconscious mind through subliminal messaging, so that when one of the sheep or the sleepers, so that when they, yes, thank you, all facts, when they get older, over the years, they're going to believe what they're told about themselves. That's it. They're going to believe what they're told about themselves. They're going to be told that they have something that doesn't exist. Because all of those labels for things, for symptoms of this or that, is the result of radio frequency poisoning. And it's a really simple process. I broke it down many times. And how can I do that? Okay, a master's degree in forensic toxicology for one. And then my experience, and of course, God's revelation. See, God's revelation triumphs everything else. But there's three things going on there. So it's through experience and then knowledge of basic scientific fact regarding metal poisoning. Because after all, toxicology is all about learning, right, for the toxic substances, if you will, because anything in excess can be toxic, right? There you go. So it's also where I learned about the negative effects of a lot of things. And I remember somebody asked on Quora what is pica, P-I-C-A? Well, for those who don't know, pica is a symptom of lead poisoning. Go figure. Lead is what? All right. So we learn that they don't. Yeah, they're. Yep. Thank you. I'm checking the chat. Yep. So we learned that we don't listen to a lot of that stuff anymore, because it's not a coincidence that all the things that we've been experiencing our entire life, it's not a coincidence that the symptom of RF poisoning matches everything that we experience. And so we learn what a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So we stop telling ourselves that we've got this, we've got that. Exactly. We stop telling ourselves those lies because they don't exist. And so it really, takes a while, but it really looks very different out there when we become more aware, because we realize it is a world stage and that the enemy has a bunch of people in position to play that game of operation. I would tell y'all, there's probably been, and I know for a fact, for many of us, regarding our teeth, we have had a lot of unnecessary work done. We've had necessary work done, but also unnecessary work. I guarantee it. Because you got to think about something. See, this is the kind of stuff that we start asking when we get in God's reality and we learn about how I came across another person who had gone to medical school, and I just learned that from her. She said that they're taught the correct makeup of our bones. Calcium's not one of them. Makes sense to me, because I said, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. Because calcium's not, that's not what makes up our bones. Let that sink in. But we're told that our bones need calcium. No, because radio frequency interferes with, calcium is a necessary mineral. I'm going to look into more on this because I'm still digesting. Okay, we're getting somewhere with this. Because radio frequency interferes with the normal calcium homeostasis, because calcium is also used to carry. It's one of the biggest elements in drug metabolism. Let that sink in, because I could tell you time and time again, studying the synapses for the nervous system regarding toxicology and toxins and transfer, that inside those synapses between the nerves, right, there are certain toxic substances that calcium is needed for the transport. It's a transporter also. So we do need some, and we know that radio frequency interferes with that. Because I started asking the question. I said, okay, hold up a second. Whenever one of us had a cavity, right? We had a cavity. And so we went to have it filled. And what was the cavity though, right? It was decay. What did it taste like? Tasted like metal, didn't it? I'm gonna tell you, I was like, I don't know how many times I noticed it, but I didn't know that that's what the taste really was, And so that cavity tasted like metal. Okay, and that's right. They want us to partly, yeah, but sugars and junk food does contribute, of course, but largely underneath it all is radio frequency zapping. Well, then why are they going to use what is called a, let's see, I've got some notes written. Let me pull it up. I said, why would they use a silver amalgam for dental filling that contain tin, copper, silver, zinc, and mercury, all metals? Our cavities taste like metal. So they're going to fill our cavity in with more metals. But now I know why. It's for that metal toxicity, yeah. But so when the high frequency, activates the mercury in there, makes it think you have that's the kind of stuff that I'm asking God in this season. Like, it don't make sense. But now it does, because I'm like, oh, right. To trick me into going and having potentially unnecessary work done. Oh, we watching like a hawk now. Absolutely. Because I'm like, okay, cognitive dissonance. But see, we didn't know until we know. We didn't know until now. These things. They start asking these questions. These are the types of questions that the Matrix does not want people asking. But God says, oh, you reveal it. He said, I revealed it to you. You share it with Spiritual Warriors for Christ. Because we wonder about a lot of these things now because of the simple fact that, oh, okay, so radio frequency poisoning, yeah, it mimics sinus symptoms. Why do you think that is? Again, because the RF, that radio frequency, it relying on finding a mucus house to live in and then travel to a fatty tissue or an area of past injury so that when the body's heat on the inside, and it's going to have an air pocket to it. So when the body's heat gets heated up on the inside, it expands that metal molecule, but only as large as the house can be. And it'll push up against that air pocket, and that's what causes the pain. It's that simple. So ice pack it. Got to keep ice packing until the metal molecule gets small enough to detach. And the water will help to liquefy, ice water in particular, will help to liquefy that mucus so that you can get it out and get the excess salt out with it. That's part of the detoxing. So, yeah. Okay. There you go. Thank you for sharing that, Lamar. Pollen messes up your dream. Okay. All right. Okay, that's fine. Oh, that's fine, Chris. Thank you for posting. I got the email that you did, and we are still working on some things as well. And I know, right, it's fine. Remember, in God's reality, we don't got to rush nothing. Take our time. In fact, we need to take our time because that matrix does not move as fast as it appears. It wants people to think that it all go, 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 go. It only looks that way. It only looks that way. But it doesn't move near as fast. And don't forget also that there's a lot of illusion out there. And I can tell you now that the pollen messes up your dreams. Yeah, it doesn't bother. It doesn't bother us unless we tell it to ourselves. Yeah, I learned that. I said, oh, what a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So we learn to not tell ourselves. That's funny. We learn not to tell ourselves that kind of stuff, though. So that, right, because it's all part of how the enemy, if he can't get to us directly, he sends that evildoer, the narcissist. If that don't work, then he's going to try to get us to self-sabotage. Going to try to get us to do it to ourselves. And that's a large way that he does it. So excuse me if I... all right. It's all part of the detoxing. And so because we have air pockets that have got to get out. Okay? Air pockets that have to... Yeah, the air pocket, I'm going to tell y'all something. Once an air pocket looses, then whatever molecule, okay, whatever toxin, whatever salt, if you will, whatever salt is still in that area, as it gets heated up, it won't have anything to, right. So it'll be like more of a dull ache, and it won't be like a ping, you know what I'm saying? So the air pocket got to go first. So in order for us to get the air pocket out first, we got ice pack because you got to shrink the metal molecule back off of that air pocket so that it can loose. Makes perfect sense because that's what I'm experiencing as I ice pack right now. A certain area, so I'm feeling some things loosen, so that's why I said, excuse me. Okay, if something like that, if it comes out, because that largely how. I mean, there's articles to tell you that too, that, you know, right, that belching and the other end is typically the most common ways that your body gets rid of the air pockets. Really. And then also, that's right, the any kind of elimination also. And then that helps to cool the body's internal heat as well. Because once the body's internal heat cools down enough, the circulation can pick back up. Air pocket can get out. Metal molecule shrinks enough. You get more water in your system. It takes that, right, it breaks the metal molecule and the house apart so that you will get more of the toxin out of the body. Okay, so it's really simple. It's not complicated. But a lot of people do get tricked into believing that. But we did too, before we knew about radio frequency and the symptoms associated with the poisoning, you know, before we knew. And so, because it can, like the article said that I share on our Patreon channel, it can take anywhere from 3 to 5 years for an RF symptom to surface. And really, how long it takes for the RF symptom to surface, I got to tell you, because this go around for me, it was not no 3 to 5 years. Because that previous environment with the oxygen tank going and all of that, all the distraction and thing, right. And so I was aware of it, absolutely. And so, yeah, being exposed to all of that. And then I quit smoking cigarette. So the enemy wanted to, right, he sent that Jezebel case study across my path to try and attempt to prolong any pain and suffering by trying to keep as much of all of that trapped on the inside of my body, right? Yeah, by doing what she did to put bruise plugs in certain places. See, the enemy, The enemy has nothing new. And so the only thing that happened was areas of past injury. That's all he had. So everything that I'm experiencing from growing up, playing sports, right? I was a pretty active kid. Many of us, chosen ones, we were. So everything, all the little strains and sprains that I might be experiencing are very minor, but I've already experienced them before, so I know how to take care of them. That's right, even during my trucking days. So I'm not unfamiliar with any of it. And so that's why we've got ice packs and my herbal remedies. We've got the Boswellia. We've got feverfew. Yeah. We've got that. And we've got our supplements that we need. So, we're good. The diaper rash ointment on them bruises. Come on now. Relaxing the muscle around it, so circulation, so that those bruises can get the nutrient they need to heal. So you gotta be mindful of all of that. Because the enemy, that's all he had was areas of past injury. All he knew, because attacking those areas, right, the only difference is I'm experiencing more than one at a time. But it is not, right, it's not severe. Okay, it's all very minor, and I'm familiar with it. So, so we know we just need a little extra self-care there, or self-care there, and we're doing it one day at a time. So thank you all for understanding as well, okay, that, the enemy tried to re-traumatize my autonomic nervous system. And so that's what happens to us first, though, when we're born into this fallen world. Yeah, is that our autonomic nervous system gets traumatized so that we get trauma bonded to the world, which means we form unhealthy attachments to people and things because we were taught in the first reality with 2 rose-tinted lenses, we were taught that people are good in general. The only bad guys out there are the criminals. Aha! That's one of the biggest lies that we're told. But we believe it because we don't know anything else as a kid, right? Kids are pretty daggone trusting. The enemy knows that too. That's why you got to keep them narcissists, the toddler in his adult bodies, right? Yeah, the enemy knows that kids can be pretty trustworthy. So the sleepers, continue to trust what they're being told about what's happening around the world when it's not really happening at all. That's why God says, when ye hear of wars and commotion, be not terrified, for the end is not by and by. Yes, metal and salt being present in the atmosphere and breathed in on the air and water vapor. That's it. Moisture. That's it. Thank you. Yeah, because that's just another connection as to how they're doing that when they manipulate the weather the way they do. So it's like, oh, okay, because it's a world stage. How do they do it? Using radio frequency and movie props. I came across a fellow TikToker. So true. Said that, there's a bunch of old-timey cars that the space stuff is supposed to be, that they're holding on to all this stuff. And so I commented. I said, yeah, those are movie props. Because he even said, so what? He said, so why are they keeping all these? What are they trying to hide? Because we know they're certainly not going to get us into space. Yeah, see, God said the firmament. It's not going. They're not going to make it past that. Oh, because I also came across that clip from years ago where a reporter asked one of those actors, said, So, you landed on the moon in the 60s. How come you haven't done it again since? And the actor spoke up and said, oh, well, we got rid of that technology. Really? Really? Okay. I thought that was hilarious because it still is funny. But you ain't getting past that permit. You're just not going to happen. Yeah. How do they get it to float like that? Green screen, blue screen, underwater scene. Uh-huh. Yeah. So we're not falling for it. And you have to think about something. Yeah, that the events, so to speak, when you take a look at who it was that supposedly goes up in that spaceship, they're all actors. They've all played in movies before. Maybe not all of them, but, well, yeah, they are. They're all actors, period. But several of them have played in multiple movies. But see, sheeple who are so perfectly programmed, they're not even going to make that connection. World stage, everybody. They're not going to make that connection. Not only that, there have been several actors who have let the cat out of the bag, but again, only those who know the truth about the world stage are going to catch that stuff. The sheeple will not. And see, that's why whoever it was that said this is so spot on, said that the best camouflage is these truths, because the majority of people aren't going to believe them. Because they're so hypnotized. They're so hypnotized by the glitz and the glam, the lasciviousness. Chosen ones are not impressed by that stuff anymore. We outgrow that. So, I want to say thank you again, Chris, for reconnecting us with that dot from yesterday. Because it really, yeah, because that's what they're doing on that world stage. And think about it. Why do you think these social platforms, they'll eat up your content, right? They want your content. They want content. They want more content. They want content that keeps people scrolling on the platform. Wow. Well, right, we know money, but we're talking about, yeah, because, each time that's exposure to radio frequency. This is why we say, limit your time. Sometimes we have to do a social media detox. Also, very, very important, because they want people glued. I see it all the time when I go on my walks. I see it all the time. Yeah, people walking, glued to something. And I'm thinking to myself, how are you paying attention to anything else around you when you're walking? They don't even look up to speak or say hi or anything as I go by. I'm like, okay. But that's what they want, because head down, right? Because if you're walking with your head down all the time, how are you going to set your thoughts on things above? Colossians 3 verse 2. Yeah. So, listen, I understand that we all got to go through life stages, okay, to get to where we're at and to get where God needs us to be. But you really have to ask yourself that. If they want you glued to that thing with your head down, that's going to affect your posture big time. But you walking with blinders on, how can you be vigilant and aware? That's the thing. All the while being exposed to more radio frequency for a longer period of time keeps their autonomic nervous system in a bit of a slumber, so that they will become more accident prone. It's a lot to unpack when it comes to combating RF for healthier living, because that's what we're doing here at Consulting for Heightened Awareness. That's our movement. Because we got to push back against it. We got to be active. We got to take action. We got to be proactive to live healthier. Because I, for one, do not like that. I don't like that part of the matrix. Because it's just, well, we know what it is. Now, if we need to go and get a checkup, we'll do that. God will tell us, but I check in with God first. And so yesterday, that's right, yesterday, the enemy was trying to trick me into thinking something was worse than it really is. This is why during the detox, I tell y'all, stop for a minute. You've been fine all day long. And so let's say you go for another stroll and you come back and all of a sudden, where'd that come from? You have to ask yourself, okay, so what did we do differently that day? Okay, so there you go, and you'll get your answer. Okay, so for me, okay, what it was is that what I did differently yesterday was, because we're doing the grazing thing as part of the detox, right? Intermittent fasting and grazing as part of the detox. But yesterday, when I got back from running an errand, I was really, really hungry. And so forgetting, I forgot that we need to be mindful of, we don't want to wolf down our food and I took in a bunch of air pockets while I was eating because I was that hungry. So I said, oh, that's what we did differently. And I ate a bit more in that one setting than I had been in the last few days. So I said, did it to myself. So I said, okay, I hold myself accountable. And so that's why he's like, okay, well, let's get back to basics and be mindful of that as we're eating throughout today, as we're grazing. So that I'm not, and then also when I take a drink, I pay attention to not, like, I don't breathe in first and then swallow all that air and water at the same time. I shut that nasal passage off, take a drink, but I don't take it with, no air goes with it. Not supposed to. And I know it's a challenge because, and the only reason, I know where the air pocket came from for me. Because, well, carbonated beverages, obviously, will do that. And then, because I used to smoke cigarettes, and then I vaped for a season or so. We don't do none of that no more. So, that being said, that's where a lot of the air pockets came from. And then carbonated beverages on top of that. And then, of course, eating and drinking. So, it was just a mixture of things. So, I have a lot of air pockets that got to get loosed. So, there you go. That's where I'm at. Right along with y'all. Excuse me. Keeping it real. All right, so let me come on over here and make sure that that's a good point. That's a good point, Chris. That it is unfortunate, and I have seen that as well on my walks. I've seen the sadness. I've seen the looks of worry. I've seen it. Yeah, and so that's a great point that they're looking. Their mind is in the phone. They can't keep. They are looking for something, they know not what, in their phones, trying to fill the spiritual void. And the only way that can happen is if they get Jesus. Remember, the matrix likes to keep people away from Jesus. That's really the main thing, main goal. of that matrix is to keep everybody away from Jesus, because only Jesus saves. Only Jesus fills that void. So I've also seen a couple of fellow chosen ones too. So there you go. The cosmic balance. All right, that wraps up the matrix with their faulty items. Remember, if you on making purchases for things that have to do with cooking and other things as well, you want to do an inspection to make sure that there's no missing links. Save your receipt if you are unable to open the box until you get home. Because if it's got missing links, it's going to break at some point. So, all right, and that's deliberate. Because if you're living in fear, that would scare you, and you would toss, like that knife, you would toss it and it would go who knows where or hit who knows what. So, there you go. We're going to be more mindful and aware, inspect our items, okay? Yeah, just like when you get a tub of strawberries, inspect those as soon as you get home. There's going to be at least one that's already starting to rot. That's another deliberate trick, y'all. Yeah, be not deceived. God is not mocked. So anytime we go and we get a container of strawberries, tomatoes are the same way. Now, fortunately, the container of tomatoes that I just got, that's the first one in a while that I have not had one starting to rot that I had to get out of the batch. So every once in a while, you might get a little bit lucky, if you will. But oftentimes, especially when it comes to the fruits and veggies, if you buy a container like that, you want to inspect that. So if you're doing it for that, you want to do it for your kitchen items and things like that too. All right, to make sure that they don't have any missing links, okay, that could be a potential, I guess you could say, safety threat. But there's safety in the Lord. And so, right, that's why when it broke on me, because there's safety in the Lord, when it broke on me, all it did, the back end and not the sharp end, just barely nicked my finger. All I had to do was put a little ice on it and we're good. Safety is in the Lord, because we're not living in fear. We don't have any reason to. So there you go, everybody. As always, if you've got any questions and you leave those in the comment on the replay, I will get to those as soon as possible. We're going to wrap this up right there, and I'm going to go ahead and start checking in with y'all elsewhere. Okay, yeah. See what's going on. All right, I am Michelle Dickey, your host for CHA's Let's Just Chat show, streaming on the YouTube channel Narcissism and Cognitive Dissonance, where trauma healing and spiritual growth are front and center while combating radio frequency for healthier living. Sending love and light to all fellow warriors. Thank you for watching, listening, and for your support. Till next time, let's show some gratitude to the Heavenly Father, and you keep being you. In Jesus' name, amen.